Hi guys, welcome back to another episode, another show of Wingers and Defenders. Here we got my good friend from Seton Hall, Harubi. He's a big Chelsea fan, and we're here to talk about the FA Cup final, which is this Sunday. Should be an exciting match. It's Chelsea versus Jacobs Arsenal, and we haven't had a Chelsea fan on yet. So we're gonna. What's your perspective, and how have you felt about the season so far, Harubi?
Yeah, well, first, thank you for having me on. It's actually great to just talk some footy right now. But honestly, I'm feeling pretty good going into the game. I think I viewed, getting Champions League, getting top four was a requirement for Chelsea this season. Even if pundits counted us out, even if everyone didn't necessarily think Chelsea was going to pull that off, Frank Lampard came in. He set that standard for the players because he knows that's where Chelsea needs to be. So getting top four, like I was nervous going into the last game of the season. I was sweating. I knew it had to be done. Now that that's done and we kind of checked off what was required, we're looking at a final against a London rival for a chance to win a trophy in Lampard's first season. It's been such a weird year when you consider Hazard left, transfer ban, club legend coming in. You have so many new players coming in. It's really a new era for Chelsea. If you think about it as that Lampard, Terry, Drogba, Czech era, then you had about 7 years of Eden Hazard where, the team changed a little bit around him, but I think he was definitely the core. And now he's left. Lampard's come in with a young team, and it's a new era. So if you can do the first season, grab a trophy against a London rival, that's fantastic. And knowing the way Lampard motivates these players going into that final, I think they're going to be motivated. They don't have much to lose since Champions League is in the bag. I think they're feeling good.
Yeah, from an outside perspective, I think it's been like you just said, up and down season for Chelsea. I think there were some bumps in the road, but overall, I think as I was remembering things, I feel like they've been in top four since October. So it was
Yeah.
pretty consistent. And then you have Leicester who came in and out, and then Manchester United who snuck in at the end. So, but I think overall, it's been like you just said, a lot of new players came in. Christian Pulisic took a while to get into his form and at his best, which took a lot of time considering he had an injury, a significant injury, and then luckily the break gave him the chance to fully recover. And now we've seen what he can do when he's fully healthy and full of confidence. Mason Mount, we've talked about on the show, I think has been a very good, an underrated signing. And he's played a lot of games, played a lot of different positions. Like Jacob said, he's played through the center, he's played on the wings. So there's definitely a lot of good signs going into next season. Definitely big that Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech, Kai Havertz could be on his way in. There's some concerns, obviously, in the defense and goalkeeper, which we have said on the show on numerous occasions. So that's an issue. But as of right now, I think, yeah, it's a big final. I think for certainly both teams. But for Frank Lampard, second-time manager, obviously had his opportunity at Derby last year. But to win get a top four spot and win an FA Cup in his first season would be very remarkable.
Yeah, looking at it from Arsenal's perspective, on the opposite side, I wanted to actually play Chelsea. I prefer to play Chelsea over Manchester United in the final. But looking back on it, after looking at Baku and even the results this season, we weren't able to beat Chelsea. We got that draw at Stamford Bridge earlier this season, and then before they snatched 3 points against us at the Emirates. So playing Chelsea isn't something that Arsenal likes to do as of late. We kind of have a team where we don't really know how good we'll be on a day. We can go out and play really well, kind of not dominate a game, but, take our chances and play well defensively, stay compact. Or we could come out in shambles and we might get destroyed. We don't know. Baku is a good example of that. I think we had Emery back then. We put out a good team, a strong team, but we just didn't come to play. So I think, this Sunday we have to put out a strong team and we have to deliver. And if we don't do that, if we allow Chelsea to create chances on the attack, to win the midfield battle, it's going to be really tough for us to win this game. I think they're a team in form, a team that's high off of a Champions League spot, getting a Champions League spot, and they want to win a trophy. Like Herbie said, this is a new era. Frank Lampard's now at the helm. And as with the first season with many young youth players playing for Chelsea, this is a big step for them. And they get a trophy. This will be really big going into next season for them. So as an Arsenal supporter, I'm not really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the game, but I'm not happy with how I think it's going to end. So yeah.
Yeah, and as a Spurs supporter here, we basically got 4 of the big 6 here. Just realized that. How about that? And well, Chelsea did the double on us, so I can't really bend to them or say really anything about them other than I hope they win. I really hope they win. I can't have Arsenal win another trophy, especially when they finish behind us. Just ruins my agenda. But overall, I think Chelsea's actually been really good this year. I thought losing Hazard was should have been hurt them more than it really did, because it really,
he had 50% of our goals or 50% of our goal contributions last season.
Like that's insane. And then
Yeah.
just like that, you have Pulisic come in, and he basically, you could argue he wasn't great the first half of the season, but since the restart, he's been insane. Personally for me, he's been the best new transfer in the league. Like, I think he's just been outstanding, and on his current form, I don't really know a good way to stop him. Like,
Yeah.
right now, other than their defense, other than Chelsea's defense and their goalkeeping, they have a very, very good attack. And we've talked about it on the show numerous times, how next season, what possibly Havertz with Werner, you guys have a chance to be, honestly, one of you guys are going to score in loads. It's going to be shootouts with you guys.
No, I agree. I think it's such an interesting scenario because Frank Lampard came into a team where it was a young player like Pulisic coming in, essentially championship players coming back from loan like Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham, even Tomori in the back, Reece James in the back. And Lampard, he didn't lower the expectations. He said, I don't care that these are where those players are from. I don't care that they're younger. I don't care that we lost our superstar. Our sights are top 4. Our sights are at the top. And he was able to do that with that team. And they are talented, but when you consider that people like Werner, Ziyech, potentially Havertz are coming in, I think it really would elevate Chelsea to that next level. It's pretty frightening to think, what he did with the inexperienced team. And when you're considering you're bringing in proven talents that offer different things on the field, Hakim Ziyech, there's no player like Hakim Ziyech at Chelsea currently. There's no player like Timo Werner at Chelsea currently. And if you have Olivier Giroud and Tammy Abraham coming off the bench for someone like Timo Werner, they're also 2 players that bring something completely different onto the field. Christian Pulisic, Callum Hudson-Odoi, your traditional wingers, but you have those options like Mason Mount, Ziyech that get in the half spaces. You're going to have people potentially like Havertz, Loftus-Cheek that love just, creating havoc all over the field. So Chelsea is going to be one of those teams that's going to be so hard to defend. And for them to do this all in their first season and potentially cap it off with that FA Cup final win is tremendous from my point of view. And I think when it comes from Arsenal's point of view, it's going to come down to that back line. I've seen them play phenomenal against some of these big teams recently, and when they perform, they absolutely perform. Arteta is a footballing genius. I totally believe that, but you can only do so much with the players you have. If David Luiz shows up and has an Agent Luiz game and Chelsea can get 2 goals early, there's no coming back from that. The same can be said for our team. Our defense is shaky, but I think if Lampard goes into it with that 5 in the back, having Reece and Azpilicueta on that same side, making sure Zuma and Rudiger, whoever it is, have a little bit more freedom in terms of spacing themselves because Alonso's going to be all the way out left in a wingback role. Like, I think it'll help Chelsea, and they were good against Wolves, who are typically a scary team in attack. Like, they're hard to deal with, and Chelsea did a phenomenal job dealing with that. So I feel good going into the game. It's just with both of our defenses, it certainly could go either way.
Yeah, and then another quick point, which I think a lot of people aren't talking about, is the resurgence of Jorginho and the quiet, Conte's not been himself this year. I think there's been a couple injuries. I think he started the year injured. They forced him back to play the Super Cup, and he played 120 minutes against Liverpool. So I think that's more credit to Lampard because Conte is world class. He's been one of the best midfielders in the last couple of years, and he's been a workhorse defensively. And he played in a different system under Sarri last year, and that's going on to the Jorginho point. He was really exposed last year, I think, coming from Napoli with Sarri, and I don't think a lot of defenses and a lot of pundits were really going at Jorginho and didn't think he could do the job, whether it was going offensively and passing it to the wingers or defensive work. But I think we've seen a resurgence of Jorginho, the likes of Kovacic. I think he's done a lot of good work with the midfield, and they really play a relatively good system with those midfielders where they can really do both things. Mason Mount's played in the midfield and he's played on the wing, and there's guys like Kovacic who've had a very good season. So I think, yeah, like you just said, I think that's all credit to Lampard, and he's really done a very good job. And I don't know if a lot of people give him the credit for certain players having a resurgence, but I think that's something you got to talk about, certainly.
I think it's clear that he came in and set a higher standard. You know, he's a Chelsea man. He came in and he wasn't willing to just settle for mediocrity. Like, he understood this season would be challenging, but from here on out, the sights are on the very top and nothing else.
Yeah, you have to respect that. And shout out my Italian resurgence. Love it. Need that for the Italian national team soon too. Euro 2021, baby. But moving on, let's make our predictions for the FA Cup final. Harubi?
So I was telling the guys earlier before we started the show, I have a 1997 FA Cup final Chelsea jersey on right now. They won that final 2-0. I'm going to stick with that. We won 2-0 against Wolves. I think if Chelsea in this 5 in the back can just play sound, it's going to be 2-0 Chelsea.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how I see it going. There's definitely ability for both defenses to have it end up being a shootout. I would say against that, but to your point before, you said if David Luiz has some errors and Chelsea go up 2-0 early, I think Arsenal's dead in the water. I don't think there's a way they come back. But on the other hand, if Arsenal get an early goal similarly to the way they did it against Man City, then I think that's where it gets good for them, because then obviously Chelsea's going to expose themselves a little more defensively, knowing they're down, and then Aubameyang, Lacazette, Saka, the likes of Pepe will get them on the break. But I think it's going to be tight. I think Arsenal have been pretty good recently, had some poor performances early in restart, but I think if I had to go, I would say 3-2 Chelsea.
Yeah, looking at it as an Arsenal supporter, I think that this game's going to come down to who makes the more mistakes and who's going to capitalize off of those mistakes. I think both of our defenses have been shaky this season. And, like Ruby said, Agent Luiz, if he comes out to play, Chelsea could punish us on the break, or they can just, find a way to beat us just through, the wing backs, Marcus Alonso. You have players on the right that can, get crosses in. Ballistic plays are going to cause problems, obviously. But I think on the opposite end, too, that's true for Arsenal. If a Chelsea defender, maybe Kurt Zouma or Rudiger, makes a mistake or things like that, we can see Aubameyang get a poacher's kind of goal, get us back into the game or get us in the lead. And, I think that's really our only shot. I don't think we're going to outplay Chelsea. That's just my personal opinion. I think we're going to play this game. We have to stay stuck in, compact, and break when we need to. I don't think we're going to outplay them. I'm thinking we're probably going to go to extra time. I think it's going to go 1-1 in extra time. And I think, because I have to back them, I think Arsenal's going to win 2-1. That's just me as a biased perspective. I think it's going to go 1-1, and no one's really going to be the most dominant team. I think we'll squeak out a result 2-1. I mean, I'm hoping for that at least.
So for me, the thing that makes me nervous is the fact that Chelsea has Kepa back there, and we all know Kepa's.
I don't think he's going to start.
You might play Caballero.
That's true. That is true. I think Caballero's going to start.
Willie started against the Wolves. Like, I think Lampard has just lost patience. I think it's going to be Caballero in that. Not that he's phenomenal, but it's better. Yeah.
It is better. I mean, Kepa's terrible, man. I don't know what happened to him. But
different show, man.
Caballero back there, it still makes me nervous, but for some reason, I just don't feel like Arsenal's going to get a result here. I think it's going to be 3-1 to Chelsea. And I don't know why. It just a feeling like Arsenal's just gonna play it. It's gonna be a dud for them. I feel like I don't know why. And normally although I am an Arsenal hater, I'll come out and say, we all know that. I don't really respect them either, but like, sometimes I pick them because I get feelings from that team. Like I get a feeling when they'll win. Like I had a feeling they beat Man City. I just have no feeling that they're gonna really have a good game. So yeah, 3-1 to Chelsea.
Might be rough. Might be rough for us. I'm not gonna lie.
Who knows though? It should be a fun
2
game.
years in a row. 2 years in a row. It's coming down to that last final, Chelsea versus Arsenal. I love it, but it's stressful.
Very stressful.
Finals are stressful.
Yeah, toxic Arsenal fans ruin the internet for the next week if we lose.
Yeah, no, that'll suck on your end.
No, for once I haven't seen your fan base piping up this match week.
I think it's because of last year. I think they piped up way too much.
We still haven't beat them since. I think we beat them last season, but then since then I think in our last 4 meetings we've drawn or lost all of them. I think so.
Yeah,
makes sense.
And Chelsea get trophies. At the end of the day, it's kind of what they do. So it would be a phenomenal way to kind of just keep that going.
Joe, you know that feeling, right?
This guy. Soon. We're in the double next year.
He did say that. He guaranteed last episode 2 trophies, at least 1. Promise.
Hey, and he said there's a lot of dead wood at Liverpool.
Yeah, that was misinterpreted. But anyway, we'll move on. We're gonna go with our like we do with all these like match previews. We're gonna go a combined 11, running a 4-3-3. So we'll start at right back. Ruby, who do you have at right back in our combined 11?
So I don't know if this is cheating because considering the center back situation, I slotted Azpilicueta over there. So I have Reece James at right back currently, but it could be Azpilicueta in theory too.
Yeah, I think realistically there's about 3 options. I think David on our Arsenal Man City one actually picked Maitland-Niles, which is kind of a crazy pick for me.
He had a good game in that. If I'm not correct, he actually did play well.
Yeah, I don't think Niles a bad player. But.
I don't think he's bad. I just don't think he's Reece James.
I think your options are either Bellerin, Azpilicueta, or Reece James. But I also would agree with, I think Reece James has been quality when given the opportunity, so I'll go there with him.
Yeah, I'd go Reece James as well. I think if I put Hector in, I'd be lying to myself. I think Hector is a good player, but he struggles with consistency. He's been doing that for the last 2-3 seasons with injuries. I think Reece James is a player that has a really bright future ahead of him, possibly an England call-up as a right back. It's a very talented position in England for some reason. There's like 4 or 5 really, really good right backs in England. But I think Reece James is good enough on going forward and on the defense to, really make that position his own. So I think Reece James is a good pick.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it 4 for 4 for Reece James here. I think he's has a lot of potential, and I mean the right back position for these 2 teams. I mean defense in general has been pretty poor, so I mean not really many competitors here. So we're gonna go Reece James. Then we'll move to the center back position, moving with our first center back on the right side, Ruby.
Yeah, so if we're going on the right side, I'm going to go with Azpilicueta. Now, again, there's kind of various center back options between these 2 teams, and I think they're all players that can have a really great game or just have an absolute stinker. So there's some tough choices, but if I'm going on the right side, I'm going to go Azpilicueta just because I think he's one of the most consistent defenders in the Premier League over, a good amount of years now, so I'll go with him.
Yeah, I think whenever we've had predictions with starting 11s with Chelsea, I've always said Tomori's the one I have the most talent-wise. I think he has the potential to be the best of anything available. Obviously, we just haven't seen enough of him. So, yeah, I'd go with Azpilicueta, captain at the moment. I think he's done great service for Chelsea, so I'd go there with him.
At the center back position, I mean, I think Azpilicueta is extremely experienced, has a lot of, caps under his belt for Chelsea. I was going to go, which is going to seem weird to me, but because his recent form, Mustafi. Now, he's a terrible player. I think he's a shocking player personally. But, I mean, off of current form, he actually hasn't been that bad for us the last couple weeks or so, last couple match weeks. I don't think he's that bad. I'd put him at that center back position, but, I mean, Azpilicueta, I'm not too upset about that. He's been at center back.
This dude said Mustafi.
Well, I mean, Azpilicueta's out of position, so, I mean, he doesn't really play
I
center
was
back.
gonna go Tomori.
Yeah. It was definitely cheating a little bit to put Azpilicueta there. He definitely plays more center back in a 5 in the back system. But
Yeah.
all these center backs are just so shocking.
Exactly.
I was gonna go with Tomori myself. I really think
That's intriguing.
I like Tomori. He's on my FIFA
Me too.
team, man. He's on my FIFA team, so I have a little extra love for him. But I think Tomori's a good player. He has a lot of potential, and in a one-game play, like a one-game cup game, I feel like he probably has the best chance to like put in a great performance. There's also a high chance of him putting in a stinker too. But me, I'd just like to take that chance. But we got 2 for Azpilicueta, so we're gonna go with him at our center back position, our right one, and then who we're gonna go with our left center back?
So the left side, I got Kurt Zuma. I would love to go Tomori. I totally agree that he has the most potential out of all these center backs that Chelsea or probably Arsenal currently have, excluding Saliba. And so I'm going to say, but currently, like, I just haven't seen him play. He's been injured. Even before then, like, he got a few chances here and there, but nowhere near enough to the point where if it was a FA Cup final tomorrow, I'd be like, man, he has to be in my team. So then it kind of comes down, to like the Zuma, Rudiger, David Luiz. Like, I'm not going to go David Luiz right now. So it's between Rudiger and Zuma. And it's just that I trust Zuma a little bit more. I think since the restart, he's realistically been our most consistent and our best defender. Rudiger has some phenomenal games because of his speed, but I trust him so little on the ball, and just he makes some very odd decisions in game. So I'll go Zuma.
Yeah, I think it's hard to pick anybody in the back line for Arsenal or Chelsea for all that matter. I think the one that confuses me the most is Christensen. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I think if I had to go with anybody, I think Rudiger would have the best chance of having a good game in a cup final. I think Zuma's also been good on form, which also ties into that. But if I had to go for somebody to have one big game in the FA Cup, I would take Rudiger.
Rough.
Go ahead, Joe.
Welcome back, guys. We had some technical difficulties on my end as my Wi-Fi decided to just absolutely just be shambolic. David Luiz's performance by that. But we're back here. We're still doing our combined 11. And Jacob, you're up now.
Yeah, I have an interesting pick. I think in a one-off game against Chelsea, and based on his prior history against Chelsea in FA Cup finals, I'm going to go Rob Holding. Now, it's a random pick. It may seem like he's a guy that you wouldn't really think would play for Arsenal this game. I think, he's a quality player, especially I remember our last FA Cup final we were in against Chelsea. He had a really good performance, played well, got Diego Costa's head. Very interesting game from him, but I think I would go Rob Holding. I don't know why. I just feel like I don't want to pick David Luiz, so I'm gonna go Rob Holding.
So speaking of David Luiz, that's my pick. So for some reason, I feel like he's like, right? I slandered him a lot on the show, but like
you just did. You literally just did.
Yeah.
It really shows the state of the back lines.
The defenses have been awful, but David Luiz hasn't been absurdly awful since that Man City game, if I'm remembering correctly.
No, you're right.
Yeah,
like,
since then.
He's been in somewhat good form, and I guess experience-wise to fit with we have Azpilicueta. Tomori would be good fitting with, but I'm just going to go David Luiz here. So
it's a one.
Go with,
it's the tie goes to the guest since it's all ones.
It's all ones. Oh man!
It's the first time in history of wingers and defenders, by the way.
I think we'll just have to go with David Luiz for the banter then.
Really?
I think he's earned this one.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
I think loyalty's on both sides. So even if he has a bad game, he's got a great game for Chelsea. So
yeah, exactly. He's gonna win regardless.
Hey, He wins either way.
Yeah, he wins either way. He is an agent, so.
Petr Cech knows very well what that's like.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, I don't know why. Side note, why did they start checking that game? I don't understand. That was dumb. That was dumb. They should have started Leno.
Same reason you just picked David Luiz. Just
Yeah.
best option.
Speaking of goalkeepers, we forgot about that. So let's go with our goalkeepers.
I was about to say, why did Joe start with the right back?
Yeah, I too.
I don't know.
Joe's
Hopefully,
been a poor
we.
performance.
I think maybe you just assumed it was Leno because I'm not gonna go Kepa or honestly either of Arsenal's keepers would win this.
Yeah.
Year, but I'll go Leno.
Yeah, I'll do the same. But I don't think we said it before we begin, but for our guest, we do go on anybody, regardless if they're injured or not. But yeah, Leno's clear. I think Emi Martinez, and this is a big point that we joked about David picking Maitland Niles earlier, but he picked Martinez, and Martinez, when he talked about him, we were talking about if Martinez comes in next year and is the starter. So I think it could go either way, but I'll take Leno.
He's been incredible.
Yeah. I would take Leno. I would take Martinez. I would take our third string keeper, Matt Macy, over Kepa. So, yeah.
Or Noah Trost.
I was about to say, yeah, no trust. I'll take Christian de Block at keeper over Kepa.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Leno as well, and the keepers on the Chelsea side just aren't there. That's something they're gonna need to sort out sometime soon. But for this FA Cup final, we're gonna go with Leno. So back to the defense because I don't know what's going through my brain today. It must be overheating in my room. But we'll go with our left back here.
I think it's also an area where Chelsea are going to look to strengthen this window. I think Tierney, even though he hasn't played nonstop throughout this year, I think he's been impressive. So I'll go Tierney.
Yep. I think Alonso is very, very good in a where he's used
5 in the back. Yeah.
Yeah. He was fantastic under Antonio Conte.
Mm-hmm.
Emerson, I haven't seen enough of. So, yeah, I think Kieran Tierney, and we've said it on numerous occasions here, he's definitely one of the best left backs in the league and has plenty of potential to even progress. So, I'll take him.
Yeah, looking at left back, I think Alonso's quality going forward in a wing back position, but as a holding left back position, I don't really trust Alonso defensively. So I would go with Tierney, my guy, honestly. He's probably – he's been injured, had injury against West Ham earlier this season. He dislocated his shoulder, had to have surgery, ended up coming back, restart, and has played really, really well since coming back. I can't really think of a game where he's played really poor in. Quality player. I think Tierney's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I'm going to go Tierney as well. I think he's a stud. Hope he moves on from Arsenal at some point soon. But, yeah, Tierney's a stud. You can make the argument that he's the best left back in the league, although I'd probably go Robertson over him. But I think there's definitely shouts. You can definitely make a shout for it. But, yeah, so our left back is going to be Kieran Tierney. So we're going to move to our midfield. We'll play a holding, a box-to-box, and an attacking midfielder. So we'll start with our defensive midfielder.
Okay. Well, I think obviously, you could look at this like, what system do you want to play, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, I'm going to choose N'Golo Kante. You could obviously put him in that box-to-box or defensive mid-role. But in my opinion, I think Chelsea are so stacked with midfielders. I got to save some people for more up top anyway. So I'm going N'Golo Kante. Has been in multiple Team of the Years recently. World Cup champion, Premier League champion. And when it comes to finals, you're not going to get his usual 200%. You're going to get a crazy 500% from him. So easy, N'Golo Kante.
Yeah, I agree. And then I said it before, but I think the biggest thing for Conte moving forward at Chelsea is him playing less and playing as that happens as a result of the team strengthening, which they've done. And they will have more players coming in next year, as we've said before, which I think – I don't know how many games he's played, but obviously over the last 3 years or whatever since he joined, I think he's played a ton of games every year, probably around –
absurd amount.
Something around 40 to 50 appearances probably every year, which is going to get him exhausted as a guy who runs up and down the field every game he's on the field. So But yeah, Conte's world class still. I think he's still going to be in the fold for France moving forward. I think there's nobody else you can take there.
Since I'm gonna lose this position anyways, I might as well just say it, just because the man who was booed off by Arsenal supporters in the full sold-out Emirates told them all, like he literally just roasted them all. Everyone hated him, and he's come back and he's actually played really well since probably February, and then little break COVID, and since coming back he's been played pretty well in the defensive midfield role for Arsenal, deep line. Granit Xhaka. I'm just gonna say it because he's gonna lose. Obviously, Conte's a much better player. But I want to say, just because I want to back my guy, I slandered him in the past many times, and I continue to slander him. I don't think he's the best. I think I can't really fault what he's done recently. And yeah, I'm going to Granit Xhaka, but I'm going to lose, and it's fair. It's fair.
It's Conte. That's the only answer here. Also, Christian, I'm going to send you for this video. You should put the picture of Conte watching Top Boy on the plane to show how – because Conte is such a GOAT, man.
Bro,
That's my
I
guy.
love him. He's got the nicest smile in the world.
He's such a legend, man. He's so inspirational.
He is.
So we're gonna have Conte at our DM position, and then for our box-to-box position, Ruby, who would you choose?
I'm going who I think realistically has been Chelsea player this season. Shows up for every big game, whether it's Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup. I think Zidane rated this guy, but he knew he wasn't going to have a big role there. He left. He's now had a phenomenal season under Lampard. Mateo Kovacic is incredible. Breaking the press, winning the ball back, finding a pass. He's not much of a goal scorer, obviously. But if you're looking at a box-to-box and someone who is going to bring that grit to your team and some of those intangibles, I'm going with Mateo Kovacic. I don't think, honestly, any Arsenal midfielder can touch where Kovacic and Conte are in world football right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the only caveat to that would be Ceballos, who I think has looked very good lately. Obviously, another guy who's came out of the place from Real Madrid. I don't know what the contract situation is for him next year. Jake might know.
We signed him on just for the end of the season, but it's still not resolved yet. So
Madrid is still unsure what they're going to do with him. He might go back to Arsenal, and he's somewhat keen, but it's not confirmed.
Yeah, I think for Arsenal, I think they should keep him. I think you still have some other positions that need to get fixed. I think he's okay. I don't know where he could be talent-wise going forward. But I think I think you have to give him credit for what he's done recently. But yeah, I think Kovacic has been one of the best players for Chelsea this season. I can't fondly remember what he was doing last year, but yeah, I think Lampard's done a good job with him. So I'll go with Kovacic as well.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Lampard being the midfielder that he was for Chelsea and molding Kovacic to the person he is, the player that he is. I can't really not pick Kovacic. I mean, I like Ceballos. I think he had an up and down season for us. And if we kept him, I wouldn't be mad about it, even though I think we need more creativity from him, more consistency. But I mean, Kovacic is a player who was rated highly at Madrid. And comes to Chelsea and is a player that dominates the midfield in games. Defensively, going forward, connecting the defense to the attack. I think Kovacic is your best bet in that box-to-box, and he would walk into Arsenal's team. So,
yeah, I'm gonna just give a shout to my Italian Jorginho here, just because he's not winning this, but that's my guy.
I love him.
Go Jorginho. But yeah, and also Ceballos is too big for your team. He's too good for your team, and he needs to get out of Arsenal as soon as possible. Small club.
That's an interesting agenda.
It is an interesting agenda. Yeah,
he's
too good for you guys. He doesn't deserve to be.
That sounds like Harry Kane. Really?
Hey,
the man who probably won't ever win a trophy and is the most talented striker in the world, right?
What are you talking about? 2 next year.
I'm hearing a whole lot of good points.
2 next year, man. 2 next year. Just wait on it, man.
All right, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'll be waiting.
Yeah, I know you will. You definitely got like an alert on your phone for it too.
Yeah,
but
wrote it down last episode, so
I wrote it down.
Moving forward, for our attacking midfielder, who would you go with, Ruby?
I'm going who I think will most likely win Chelsea's Young Player of the Year. He has started every Premier League game, or has played every Premier League game. I honestly think he started every Prem game. Has been a constant piece in the Chelsea team. Like we mentioned, either at left wing, right wing, center mid. Played with Lampard at Derby County, which I think is pretty incredible when you consider he's been in management for 2 years. You know, he stood there very early on and he said, I think Mason Mount's going to the very top. He stuck by him all year, and it paid off on that last day, him scoring the free kick, making sure we got top 4. I think Mason Mount, what he brings is so much on the football field. I mean, he could score goals. He's going to press your opposition. He can pass. He really is a high IQ player. And sometimes in England, people like that aren't always appreciated right away. But you've seen people like Pep Guardiola, Lionel Messi already talk about how good they think Mason Mount is. I think someone like Frank Lampard, who obviously played a similar role in the team, obviously slightly different players, but when you consider goal-scoring midfielders, I think he's a perfect mentor for him. And he's quite literally, I mean, he's Frank Lampard's golden boy right now. So I'm going Mason Mount.
Yeah, I just quickly looked up his stats. He's made 51 appearances. He missed 1 game in the Premier League, and he's so it's
unreal.
8 goals, 6 assists. Obviously that goal against Manchester United was his first goal contribution outside of the Premier League, but still, that's, I think, 51 appearances from a 21-year-old. It's not something like that will last long term, which we've seen from Conte. Probably the same amount of appearances he's made the last couple of years. But yes, at this
we
moment,
won't need it as much.
Right. Yeah. So, and I think with the likes of Loftus-Cheek coming back, I think that will go down next year, probably something in the 40s for appearances across all competitions. But yeah, Mason Mount's been one of the best players for Chelsea this year. I think, like you just mentioned, him coming from Derby County in the Championship and excelling in the Premier League in the span of 12 months is very remarkable, to be quite honest. So I would also go Mason Mount.
I'm torn because I want to be tactical about this. I want to play this player because if I was the Arsenal manager, I'd play him here for this team. But I really like Mason Mount. I really do like what he's done. I think he's a really great player. Lampard rates him highly. Even Gareth Southgate really rates Mason Mount really highly. He's a 21-year-old making caps for England early. You know he's a quality player, has a bright future ahead of him. But in my personal team that I would pick, he wouldn't play here traditionally. I'm going to put Bukayo Saka at cam just because of the team I want to play. He usually plays on the left or the right, but I'm going to play him at cam because I think I want an Arsenal player in the midfield. Please, I want Arsenal player in the midfield. Because Chelsea is too good in the midfield. I need one Arsenal player. Saka, you know what he's done this year. He has the number 7 shirt next year locked up. He's our best winger, actual out-and-out winger. And young player with huge future ahead of him. Going to see who's going to pick between England and Nigeria. You know, they both want his services. Quality player, only 18. Just my favorite player to watch as an Arsenal supporter this season. So at cam, I'm going to put Saka, but I understand Mason Mount as well.
Well, that sucks because he's not getting in the team. So we're going with Mason Mount here. Yeah, I love Saka, but
Saka's great. Yeah.
That's rough. Right.
Another player who's too good for Arsenal.
The Chelsea midfield is unreal. I can't believe we're gonna add Havertz to this.
Apparently, he's gonna cost 100 mil. They're saying now.
I think it'll probably be like 80 mil with add-ons. It'll come. I'm sure the specifics will be somewhat of a gray area, but he wants Chelsea. Chelsea wants him. I think it's gonna get done.
I can't fathom being allowed
generational.
to pay for. I can't imagine being able to pay like 80 million for a player. Like that doesn't feel right. Like
We're
I don't know.
gargantuan.
I mean, you almost did that.
Yeah, you got Pepe, don't you? 72, bro.
Yeah, and they bought Ndombele for like 60-something. What has he done?
62 is a lot different than 80.
No, yeah, but I'm talking about like spending a lot of money on waste men.
Flop of the season.
Yeah, well, let's continue. We could get
that's
caught
Joe
up
Linton.
on Kai.
What's it called? So we're gonna move to our left wing position here, and Harubi.
I think, I don't know, we might run the board with this one, but I'm going Christian Pulisic. Realistically, I mean, I've been a fan of his for so long. And to see him, I mean, I always believed in his talents, but to see him breaking out the way he is right now and seeing Chelsea fans, you know, not just be impressed, but fully embrace him and just absolutely, be calling him, like the Hazard replacement, blah, 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 constantly talking about him, wanting him to wear the 10. It warms my heart. I love seeing Chelsea fans embrace him. And I think there's good reason for that. Like, there's good reason why they love him. He's unbelievably quick, so good on the ball. He can cross. He's high IQ. He can finish. I think he's really improved his finishing recently. And when you consider at a young age, he moved to Dortmund, fought his way into the team, then again moved still at a young age to London, to such a big team, and again fought his way into the team and is just continuing to produce great performance after great performance while also being the face of his national team, all at the age of 21, is incredible. I rate him very high. He would be my left winger.
Yeah, I think same for me. I think you're talking about a guy that scored, and I think a lot of people don't remember this, is he scored his hat trick against Burnley, which was his highlight of the season probably prior to, and it was left foot goal, right foot goal, and header. So he did everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but like you just said, I think the finishing, which I think is the biggest step, he's shown signs of being a better finisher, which will be key for him as a Chelsea player playing a full season and also for the U.S. national team where we want to go. But yeah, like you just said, I think the finishing with both feet, I think we saw a great goal against Palace off the left foot, just quick step, and he got past the defender and bang, right into the top corner. And when I watched him play against Liverpool, I knew immediately once he came on, I was in trouble. And he made me scared as anything because he immediately came on, nutmeg Joe Gomez, and then put the ball right to Tammy Abraham. And then I think it was 10 minutes later, maybe. It was within the first, 15 minutes of being on. Cross in and chested it or did something to control the ball and slide it into the top corner. Next thing you know, 4-3. And Liverpool's got them scared out of the mind. So – and I think your other pick, which I think Jake in the top corner is probably a little annoyed about, is Aubameyang. But I think I'll move over with that pick where I think he can play. He can play centrally as a striker versus Pulisic, who's really a winger / somebody that could play as a number 10 in the U.S. team. But yeah, Pulisic for me.
Yeah, I'm going to be tactical about this because I want one Arsenal player to get into this stacked team. I'm going to go Pulisic as well. American bias, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. He has been Chelsea's best player since restart, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Super quality. I wish we could have had him at Arsenal, but we don't get what we want all the time. Quality player. We really can't doubt what he's done recently. Chris has said, when he comes on the games, if he's not starting, even if he does start, he's going to impact the game. That right side of the defense is going to have problems all game. He's too quick, too tricky, technical. He's very good at passing, very good at connecting play, a good crosser of the ball. He's a player that in the next couple of years be one of the top players in the Premier League if he keeps it up. So I think left wing is going to go to Pulisic.
Yeah, left wing is going to go to Pulisic. And that man's going to put Hector Bellerin in a blender on Sunday, man. I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Moving to our central striker position. Ruby, who would you go with here?
This is heartbreaking for me to not pick Olivier Giroud on form right now because he's been great. And I think, I would love to hear him say thank you, Arsenal, again after a final. But if I'm being realistic, I'm going to go Aubameyang as striker. He's one of those players that, he has unreal pace, and it's hard to replicate that. Speed kills. And when you have a player like that on the counterattack who can absolutely terrify defenses, still finish at a high rate, at a high quality rate, he's hard to not pick. Obviously, Giroud, Lacazette, Aubameyang, they all kind of bring different things on the field. But Aubameyang, he did it at Dortmund. He's been doing it at Arsenal at crazy rates, realistically, the amount of goals he's had in the Premier League for 50 appearances, etc. So I'll go Pierre.
Yeah, and then another quick thing I forgot to mention about Pulisic. I think he's the key for the performance of Chelsea. Just to mention that, I think specifically just talking about the Liverpool game. If before he came on the field, I think Chelsea looked lost defensively and going forward as well. I think it was I think it was 4-1 when he came on. So that'll be the key. I think certainly he starts, but I'll quickly move to striker. I also would go with Aubameyang. I think Lacazette's shown some better performances since the restart. Like you just mentioned, Giroud. There's a reason why they're bringing him back on a 1-year deal. That just shows you that he means a lot to that team, and he offers something as a target man compared to Tammy Abrahams, who's more of a traditional striker in this era. So, but yeah, I think Aubameyang, there's a reason why he's scoring the goals he is, even from left wing or striker. There's a reason why they're keeping him as a 31-year-old and probably going to give him a lucrative contract. So I think you have to go with him in this final.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of where he's played at, Dortmund, Arsenal, with very, very poor midfield at times, like he's he's scoring goals, top of the league goal scorers with midfields that can't create. He has midfielders that really can't create for him. If you put him in a team like Liverpool, Chelsea, City, he's getting double the goals that he has. And he misses chances. I mean, he misses chances. Joe has been quick to point that out. This is true. But if he had a more competent midfield, imagine how many goals he would have if he didn't have the midfield that he has. You know, so Bias has been good this year for him. And, you know, players like Lacazette holding up play for him, Pepe giving him assists. But if he had more creativity around him, Aubameyang could be one of the best strikers in the world, in my opinion. I think he is, but he'd be able to prove it more. I think it's a no-brainer between if it's him and Giroud. I think it's Aubameyang. Giroud, former Arsenal player. I still have respect for him as a player. I think he's a quality player. But, I mean, after what he did last year and everything like that, I mean, I'd obviously going to pick Aubameyang over him.
So I'm going to be the lone guy here. I'm going to go with Giroud. One, because I hate Aubameyang. Number two, because in a one-off game, I don't trust Aubameyang to get a goal, like to score a clutch goal. He's very, very misproof. We saw him miss a huge one against Spurs in the North London derby, wide open, just missed. I think he clanked it off the crossbar. We saw against Olympiacos, this dude had a sitter, skies it away. And Giroud is the guy who's short-handed. When you need a goal, you can get it to him. Give him a header, he'll score that. Give him a good chance down there. He'll find a way to create space and score a goal. So if we're going over a season, I'm going to go Aubameyang. But if we're going for a one-off game, I got to go Giroud.
I mean, we're going for a one-off game with the midfield that he has, the Chelsea midfield, all those really good creative players, and Kovacic behind him, and Pulisic on the left, and you're not going to go Aubameyang?
No.
I love Giroud, but it's just hard for me to not pick Aubameyang in that situation.
Joe ignores numbers. It's all right.
No, I understand the numbers. I understand he scores.
No, you do, but you like to pick out moments. You pick out moments. You pick out moments.
What did he do against Spurs? What did he do against Spurs in North London derby?
Yes, a moment of the game.
But we're talking about a starting lineup. You know, you could bring Giroud off the bench, but if we're talking about a starting lineup, you got 90 minutes, and those are your striker options. How are you not going to pick Aubameyang?
It's Spurs bias. I understand it. He picks moments out that he likes because Aubameyang looks bad. I understand it. He ignores the facts. He ignores how good Aubameyang has been. Yes, he's missed chances, but we're going to pick Giroud just because despite Arsenal. We get it. It's all right. Sorry, you have agenda. It's an agenda. We get it. It's all right.
I mean, I would honestly go Giroud over him in a one-off game. To each his own. We're gonna go. We got 3 for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. So Aubameyang can be our central striker on our team. And then for our right wing, who would you go with, Harubi?
I think this is a tough one. I think I almost had 4 options. I was sitting here, I was writing my team on literally with a pencil and paper. I was thinking it could be, in terms of young potential, Saka or Hudson-Odoi. Or if you're looking a little bit more proven talent, if I wanted to, I'll throw Pepe and Willian. But when we keep bringing this up, one-off game, if we're thinking FA Cup final specifically, as much as I love Hudson-Odoi, and I really do rate Saka too, I'd go Willian just because it is an FA Cup final. I've seen this man, even though most of his goals have been free kicks or penalties, when it comes to a final, those things are important. He's been for the team for a long time. He knows what it's like to win. He knows what it's like to beat Arsenal. Even though I accept that the right move for Chelsea and him is probably for him to walk away this summer, and we have players like Hakim Ziyech coming in, players like Hudson-Odoi who will take on a bigger role. If I'm picking this team for right now for this FA Cup final, I have Willian starting.
Yeah, I think for me, one guy you didn't mention, which he's off injured, I believe now, is Martinelli, and in the one of the
fair.
games in the Premier League, he had the ridiculous counterattacking goal when Arsenal
did.
were down to 10 men, which I was watching with the Chelsea fan at college, and he was fuming, as many probably would. But one other thing I wanted to point out was I think if we're going and we're looking for who could have the best performance if they're at their best, I actually think it would be Nicolas Pepe. I think Willian at 32 years old, and like you just mentioned, penalties and free kicks. I just looked 4 penalties out of his 9 goals this year. But then again, he has 7 assists. So I think it goes both ways. But yeah, I think Pepe's been too inconsistent this year. I think his ceiling is very high, and still has a lot to gain. I know Joe is going to have an agenda on him too.
He's smirking.
But yeah, I think Willian, there's a reason why they're considering keeping him, even with all the attackers they have. I don't think they should. I think they should let him go and give their younger guys opportunities. And Ziyech coming in on the wing, and Werner plays on the wing as well at times. But yeah, I think Willian in a cup final is your best bet.
I have to back my guy, really. Honestly, I think Willian is probably the better pick, honestly. I understand why you want to put Willian there, but I have to just back my personal, like my guy, Pepe. Someone who, yeah, we spent a lot of money for him. I agree. We did spend a lot of money on him. And, you know, people justify his price tag with, you know, how well has he played with how much money you spent for him. And, you know, he hasn't lived up to that. I don't think you could say that there's a player recently for Arsenal that have lived up to their price tag other than like Martinelli, Leno, those kind of players like that, you know, you don't get them for a lot of money, but they perform really well. Pepe is one of those players where you pay a lot of money for him. And his first season, he didn't really play that well. I mean, consistently. He's had really, really good games. He's had poor games. We know that. Joe has to point out his poor games. We get that. Justify his price tag when he has a 65 million waste man on his team. I understand it. I'm going to go Willian, but I want to back Pepe. I'm going to go Willian just because I'm going to be sensible.
Wow. So I may have an agenda against Pepe, but that's who I'm actually going with here. I'm going to take Pepe.
I don't get this guy. I don't get this guy. I don't get him.
No, he's probably the worst, one of the worst wingers in London. But I think for this team, and especially in this game against a poor Chelsea defense, I think he has the opportunity to drop a few players, get in a few good crosses. We've seen flashes of brilliance from him. I'd be lying if I didn't say we haven't seen those. And I think this team, against this Chelsea defense, I think he's probably the best matchup problem that you probably have here, considering that he could use his speed to get past the the left back.
It'll be Alonso. That's not bad. Alonso or yeah.
And you could put he's actually a pretty decent crosser. I'm not gonna lie on that one.
No, he's good at crosser. Yeah.
So I think on that team, I think he actually fits this game and can be a matchup nightmare in this game, and that's why I'm gonna go Pepe. But we have 3 for Willian, so we're gonna go Willian on this one. And so yeah, that's our team. It'll be interesting to see what happens on Sunday. And one London club will be lifting a trophy here, and it won't be Spurs.
Per usual.
Well, they'll get 2 next year, right, Joe?
Yeah, per usual.
Yeah, I'm promising one. But
yeah, I have it. It is archived. We have the notes. We have everything that you said.
It's said on 2 different shows now, so
yeah, it's been recorded.
Yeah, I'll eat my words if I'm wrong, but I'm right. So
you will be.
Have to.
All right.
That's all the time we have,
Yeah.
folks.
Thank
Thanks
you for
again
having me
tuning
on,
in.
guys.
Yep.
Appreciate
Anytime,
having
man.
you.